Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you a really strong build. It's the DPS Spellbreaker running Staff and Greysword in War vs World. Many of the builds I share with you are not meta. I don't consider them meta, it's just for the fun and also to change a bit the usual classes we play, like Holosmith or Berserkers, but this one I think is really strong and can really work and become meta, because it has insane burst and also the burst is kinda sustained because you have a lot of F1s and F2 in your rotation. Also, this class has a very big amount of strips, comparable to Reaper, maybe even better. Also, you have the bubble in the elite skill, but if you want, you can also run the war banner, so you can stomp enemies or revive allies. So, in my opinion, this is very strong as a class because of the boonstrip, which is very high, the damage is insane, the burst is insane. The only downside of this class is that you have no ranged option, but still there are many other classes which are meta and they don't have any ranged option. And also we are very tanky. This is the build. We run Arms, Discipline and Spellbreaker. On Arms we have this trait, which is some fury when we swap weapons in combat and also some critical chance increase. Then we have Signet Mastery. Whenever we use a Signet we will get for 1 minute 100 ferocity, and this ferocity will stack maximum 5 stacks, meaning that you can get like 500 ferocity from this trait if you have enough signets, which is insane. In this build we run 2 signets, but the duration of this thingy is 1 minute per stack, so we have like 16 seconds cooldown and 25 seconds cooldown, so you can really get like 4 or 5 stacks almost all the time, so it's a huge damage boost. This is really insane. And also we will get lesser Signet of Might when we strike an enemy below 50% HP. Once every 20 seconds, it's 10 stacks of Unblockable and 5 stacks of Might. The Unblockable is really juicy, considering we have other 10 stacks of Unblockable here and also other 3 stacks of Unblockable in the skill tree from the staff. Then the other traits here are kinda useless. This one is kinda good because every burst skill will be a critical hit, so we will inflict 10 stacks of vulnerability each time we hit an enemy with a critical hit on the F1 and F2, so 10% more damage if they have 10 stacks of vulnerability. Then this trait is huge. It was changed a bit. Previously it just increased our F1 and F2 critical rate chance to maximum, like 100%, even if we had 0 precision. Now it was buffed, and each time we will hit an enemy with our burst skills, we will get for 2 seconds or 3 seconds or 4 seconds, based on the adrenaline we spend, a critical chance increase by 100%. So basically, let me explain better. For example, I am hitting these guys here, I spend 2 stacks of adrenaline, we get this buff here, burst precision, for 2 seconds, meaning that for those 2 seconds we will deal 100% critical chance on every hit, not only on the F1 and the F2. So basically we need 0 precision thanks to this trait, because we will spam our critical hits on the burst skills. We will do F1, then the enemies will hit us during the F2. F2 is another burst skill, it will reset the F1, and so we get another F1. So basically we get all the time this buff up on us, and it's basically 50 ferocity and maximum critical chance even if we run 0 precision, and I will tell you later in the gears section. On Discipline we have this minor trait, 5 adrenaline whenever we swap weapons, which is really needed. We need adrenaline as much as we can. Then we have a Warrior's Sprint. Each time we use a mobility skill we will remove Immobilize from ourselves, and also we will get 3% damage increase on melee weapons. We run only melee weapons. Our mobility skills are the skill 2 from the staff, the skill 3 from the staff, the skill 3 from the Greysword, the skill 5 from the Greysword, and this is it. I think it's enough for skills to remove Immobilize. So if you are stuck with Immobilize and you don't have resistance and you see your supports are not cleansing, you can just remove your Immobilize. Then we have 5 seconds cooldown on our weapon swap, which is huge. And then we have 3% damage increase per boon on our target. Our targets will have boons almost all the time because there is this boon spam, which is kinda ridiculous. It was also nerfed a bit, so this is very good to have. It's minimum like 15% damage increase. Then we have might on weapon swap, and also burst skills gain reduced recharge, because why not? We need to spam even more our burst skills. Then here we have this huge trait. Usually people on DPS warriors run burst mastery, because whenever you use a burst skill you get back 33% of the adrenaline you just spent for that burst skill. It has no internal cooldown, and also damage increase 7% on your burst skills. This is still a very good trait, but in my opinion, Hated Focus is huge, because we get quickness and we recharge our burst skills when we strike a foe that is below the health threshold, and this works especially well on the Spellbreaker because it also will reset the F2, and this is insane in my opinion, because thanks to this trait here, which makes our full counter, which is the F2, refresh all burst skills. Basically we can F1, F2, the F2 will hit the enemies and it will reset the F1. We press F1 again, and hopefully we will hit an enemy below 50% health, and we will get a reset on the F1 and on the F2. So we can F1 again, F2, the F2 will reset the F1, and we can F1 again. So we can basically use like 4 Arsing Slice, or 4 Path to Victory, or 2 and 2, 3 and 1, you choose basically. So in my opinion, this is a very strong trait. The only downside is that you cannot really control it, because you can't really choose if hitting an enemy below 50% health or so. But still, you also get quickness, which is nice to have, because our burst skills are a bit slow. And also, the internal cooldown is just 12 seconds, so in my opinion, in a longer fight, this trait like outshines the burst mastery. In my opinion, this one, Heightened Focus, is just better only on the Spellbreaker. If we were maybe on the Berserker, I could still say burst mastery is the way to go, maybe. But still, Heightened Focus on the Spellbreaker is just better, because it will reset your F2, which is an additional reset of your F1. I will explain later in the commentary if I made you confused. On Spellbreaker we have Pure Strike, increased critical hit damage, and this damage is doubled against boonless foes. Enemies will have boons all the time, so take this as a 7% damage increase. Dispelling Force, dazes, stuns, pulls, knockdowns, knockbacks and launches remove boons. We only have this pull, which is the skill 4 from the staff. It's a pull. If you hit an enemy with no stability, you will remove a boon from him. And also we have a daze, AoE daze on our F2, which also will get reset by this trait, sorry. So we have basically 2 dazes and a pull on the staff. The Greysword has no CCs, and the elite skills and the utility skills has no CCs. Then we have removing boons from a foe deals damage and gives you adrenaline. We will remove a lot of boons actually, and also the other 2 traits are kinda useless. And also the adrenaline we get by removing the boons is huge, because we need adrenaline a lot. We will lack some adrenaline sometimes because we don't run Burst Mastery, which gave us back 33% of our adrenaline spent. So we need any adrenaline we can get. Then gain insight when disabling foes or removing boons. So basically we will remove a lot of boons. We will have 5 stacks of these. It's 150 power, 150 precision and 150 ferocity all the time. But the interesting part, which I already told you, is full counter refreshes all burst skills on hit. This is insane. It's the reason why this build can work in my opinion. And then we have Enchantment Collapse, 1 second internal cooldown. Removing a boon from a foe causes all nearby foes to lose an additional boon. So 1 boon per enemies. And it's also unblockable, and this is why it's good. Together with the skill 4 from the staff, it's a pull. You can remove a boon with this trait, and if you remove a boon with this trait, you will remove an additional boon from 5 enemies around your target with this other trait here. And removing these additional boons will grant you, of course, adrenaline because of loss aversion. So it's just very good to have. Also your F2 is a daze. It's the same thing. You can remove a boon, another boon, adrenaline, very easy. So this is very good to have and to know. Of course, this will apply also to our Winds of Disenchantments and to our Break enchantments. And also it's the reason why I run Superior Sigil of Nullification. Let's get into the gears. The gears are pretty funny because some people might say, okay, this is a meme, but no. I ran previously this build with other weapons, with other traits, and it works. You don't need any precision. We run full Valkyrie. This is the Valkyrie stat. Power, Vitality and Ferocity. This is the best damage option you can have from the gears if you don't need precision, because it has maximum power, and then we have Ferocity. We don't need precision because of this trait, which I talked about earlier. I will also tell you later in the commentary. So everything is Valkyrie because we need the most damage output we can. We don't need precision. Superior Rune of the Scholar is the best choice for DPS builds almost all the time. Then the staff, of course, is Valkyrie too. We run Superior Sigil of Nullification and Superior Sigil of Bloodlust. Nullification is a bit bad on almost any class except the Spellbreaker, because we can remove a boon basically every 5 seconds whenever we strike an enemy from its flank or when they are defiant. It will happen all the time in War vs World. Enemies will get hit from the flank or while they are defiant. 5 seconds internal cooldown, it's 1 boon, and you could be saying why 1 boon is so important, because Nullification can interact with the enchantment collapse, of course, so you will remove a boon with the Nullification sigil, and then you can remove 5 additional boons, like 1 boon per target from 5 enemies targets. So with this trait, it's basically, it boosts a lot the Nullification sigil. In my opinion, on this class, Superior Sigil of Nullification is a must. On the Greysword, we run Superior Sigil of Hydromancy. It's an insane burst damage when we swap to Greysword. So we run maybe on the staff, F1, F2, F1 again. We swap to Greysword. We have the Hydromancy proc, which deals a decent amount of damage. And also we have Superior Sigil of Nullification also here, because we cannot stop removing boons, especially because removing boons not only is strong because it's a boon removal, but because we deal some damage with it. We share the boon rip with other enemies with this, and most importantly we get some adrenaline which we need to deal damage. Then every trinket, every jewel is Valkyrie, of course. The relic is Relic of Isgarren. After evading an enemy attack, place the Eye of Isgarren on them for a duration. You deal increased strike and condition duration against the enemies with the Eye of Isgarren. 10% damage increase to enemies which are attacking us and we dodge an enemy from them, an hit from them, sorry. We will get 10% damage increase against them for 6 seconds. It's especially good because we have these 2 dodges, and then we have To the Limit, which is our healing skill, which will grant us 2 additional dodges. And also we have the skill 3 from the Greysword, which will grant us another evasion, like for almost 1 second of evade. So every evade we will make with this, it's basically 10% damage increase against the enemies. So this is very good to have, probably the best damage option on this class. This is the clip you were seeing at the start of the video, so let's make a commentary out of this. So the fight starts, the enemies are coming to me, I start casting my bubble, I slowed this clip by 50% so I can explain better. At this point I have some adrenaline on me, I can use my F1, and F1 landed, then F2 to reset my F1, F2 landed and the F1 is reset properly. At this point, let's see what happens. I use my break enchantments because it's an AoE around you, so even if the enemies are not really close to you, you can use it to do damage and remove boons. At this point, I swap to staff. Staff F1 will hit enemies in front of you for a decent amount of damage. Like, I just checked the numbers, and staff F1 not only is much easier than hammer F1 to hit, you don't need to leap him in and suicide onto the enemies, but also the damage is a bit higher, so staff is better than hammer, except, sorry, it has no CCs, except the skill 4, of course. Okay, at this point I try to pull, I have everything on cooldown, we are a bit on the defensive side now. I cast my skill 3 on myself and on my allies. I get some ages and some stacks of unblockable because it's the skill 3, it's how it works. And the skill 2, it's a bit of healing and damage. Okay, the skill 3 was cancelled. The skill 5 was interrupted by the enemies. At this point, let's see what happens. I cast my F1 with the staff. It landed properly here, and also, as you can see, the F1 from the staff is a healing skill too, so you can heal your allies a bit while doing a decent amount of damage with it. Then F2, I reset my F1, and you see also the F2 got reset because I triggered the heightened focus trait, which I talked about to you earlier, sorry. And so this is not the best option I could get. It was better if I could reset the burst skills after the second F1, but it's okay. So F1 again. At this point I swap immediately F1 from the greatsword. I have no adrenaline. I use my skill 3 into the enemies to get some adrenaline back, and also I have break enchantments ready. I use it, full adrenaline. F2 again. I reset my F1. F1 landed. At this point I can swap back to staff. You see how much adrenaline you get. F1 again. I have nothing left. Auto attacks are also kinda strong on the staff. Then skill 2, some healing and some damage. Skill 4 to pull and to get some adrenaline if I CC. Then to the limit. F1, F2. The F2 will reset my F1. You see the F2 got reset once again, only the F2, so now I swap to greatsword. Let's see it again, sorry. F1, F2, the F2 resets the F1, and also the heightened focus trait got triggered, so the F2 reset too. F1 from the staff. I have no adrenaline and I have nothing to generate it, so immediately swap to greatsword. Weapon swap will give you also some adrenaline because of the trait, and also the superior sigil of hydromancy. You see like 3k on this guy, and also when it hits on the enemies, of course, you get adrenaline because it's a hit. F1 from the greatsword. F2 because the F2 is ready again because it was reset by heightened focus. I land it on these two guys, so I refresh my F1. I go on to them again. F1 again, you see insane damage, and at this point the fight is over, I think. F1 from the staff, skill 3, skill 2. Okay, this is very good. An interesting clip which shows how strong is the heightened focus trait if procced properly. So we are about to fight here, we are fighting F1s, skills around us, and so bubble is up. At this point we are crossing on the enemies. F1, F2, the F1 is reset, and now I hit my F1 again, and you see I reset all of it. F1 and F2 were reset by the trait, and this is the best scenario which can happen. We have the F1 and the F2 ready again because I hit an enemy below 50% HP with my second F1, which is the best case we can get. Then skill 2 to get some adrenaline. F1, I hit the enemies. F2, it will hit enemies, and the F1 gets reset, and I use it again. Let's see it again, sorry, I was a bit fast. F1, F2, F1, it reset everything. F1, F2, reset of the F1, another F1. At this point I can go on to the enemies. F1 from the greatsword, I got cancelled, I got greedy, it's okay. F1, at this point maybe F2, okay, reset again, F1 again, I missed it, F1 from the staff again. You see how much F1 you can spam. Let's get into a quick explanation of how you should play it. So basically almost all the time you will be on staff if you are in a ranged situation, so because your F1 is just an AoE in front of you, like you see from here, you can hit it, so it's very good to have. And the greatsword is very limited in the range and in the radius, so it's like 130 instead of like 450, so staff almost all the time, except when you go melee. Then okay, we have the skill 2, which is a leap, and if you hit an ally with this, if you heal an ally and grant him might and fury and so on, you will get some adrenaline, so this is very good to generate adrenaline because the cooldown is kinda low. Then we have the skill 3, which is basically good for the healing, protection, ages, of course, if you are a support, but in this build you need the unblockable stacks. You can precast it before a fight, so you press it, 3 stacks of unblockable, and you can use it. Of course, you can use them to land on the enemy's unblockable hits. The skill 4 is a pull in front of you. The skill 5 is very good to survive. It has also some healing if you press it again, but most importantly, if you press it again, you get some adrenaline and some additional adrenaline per block. So basically, with this skill, you can survive like 2 seconds, because it's a 2 seconds block, channeled block, and also you press it again at the end, so you can get basically to full adrenaline, because you will get basically unlimited blocks in War vs Sword during fights. So what you should do in a fight is probably, first thing, skill 3, unblockable stacks. F2 if you have the adrenaline ready, then F2, then it will reset the F1. Of course, here the enemies are not attacking me, so let's see it again, sorry, F1, and then at this point, if you didn't reset your burst skills with this trait, you can swap to Greatsword. You see Superior Sigil of Hydromancy will hit, and then F1, if you have the F2, you can cast it, of course, to reset the F1 again, and then you can F1 again, of course, and if you have Heightened Focus proccing, you can cast F1 and F2 and F1 again. Skill 2 from the Greatsword is kinda bad, skill 4 is kinda bad, skill 5 is kinda bad, the skill 3 is very good for the evade, and also it's a decent amount of damage, and also every hit will crit because you will be spamming all your burst skills, so every hit is a critical chance because of the burst skills spam. Then we have To the Limit, which is very good because full adrenaline, full endurance to you and your allies, and also it's a big heal. Signet of Fury if you need adrenaline, and also improves precision, and the active use as adrenaline and improve your precision and ferocity, like 360 ferocity. You should be using this quickly before your burst skills to increase the burst damage. The duration is like 4 seconds, so it's not that much. Be fast with your fingers. Let's see, like you can do this thingy here, and then F1 again, you see the big damage. Here we have some might stacks, power, and also unblockable stacks, 10 stacks of unblockable, and also don't forget that your 2 signets will trigger this trait, so 200 ferocity very easily. At the start of the fight, most of the time you will have no adrenaline. Let's say you are stuck on this stuff, you use your skill 3 for unblockable, you have no adrenaline, you can do break enchantments. It gives you some adrenaline because of the hits, and also it will remove boons, and it's unblockable, and removing a boon will get you adrenaline. So basically it's a quick way to refill your adrenaline. So to refill your adrenaline, you have To the Limit, Signet of Fury, and break enchantments, and also we have the Winds of Disenchantments, which is some hits and some boon removal, so it's an insane amount of adrenaline. You shouldn't be lacking adrenaline at any time. If it happens you are stuck on your stuff, also if you have no cooldowns left, which shouldn't happen, your auto attack is really strong. The 2 first chains are kinda bad, but the last one, it's kinda hard and around you, so it's very good to have against your enemies. You are fighting here, you see around you, even if the enemies are not in front of you, you can hit them, so this is very good to have. Instead, the auto attack from the Greatsword is more damage, but it's much slower, and it only hits enemies in front and a bit on the side, as you can see. This was all for today's videos. Thank you for watching. As usual, please consider leaving a like and a subscribe if you enjoy my content. This build is really strong, and in my opinion, if you are a warrior enjoyer, and even if you are not a warrior enjoyer, you should try it and make your conclusion, because it's really strong. I can guarantee this one can become a real issue in meta. See you on to the next video, and again, thank you for staying with me. Bye bye and have a great night.